All right, we are live. And let me get my Amazon stream going here. So we got 2 in a week this week. So I've got stuff that I got to get off the to-do list. So therefore, we are going to test things today. Today we're working. This is a work day for me. So we're going to be getting some work done. And the work will be testing these 2 Crucial drives. And we're also going to look at this thing called the Orico Personal Cloud Storage. This is like a little mini NAS that you can take with you places. I'm not sold on it based on what I'm reading about it, but we'll give it the old college try here and see how it works. So that is the game plan. And I've got my phone here. It's got some battery to it, so that's good. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So give me a second here just to get my computers all synced up so I can see the comments in the chats. I'm using a different computer here. And yeah, so there we go. So Moopsy is here, cheering me on. Yeah, we're going to have some excitement. It's always exciting when we've got storage devices to look at. David Langley is here. Matthew is here, and you know, this one is on sale today, 46% off. If you click the link, you'll get a good deal. Richard Maxey is here, and Kevin Hawthorne is here too. So yeah, no, it's been good. I've got, next week's not going to be so good, but I've got this week, I've had just a good amount of time to get caught up on stuff. I mean, I'm never done. That's the one problem with what I do is that, or self-employment in general, is that you're never satisfied with what you have to do. So we're going to unbox this in a little bit, but we're going to look at the Crucial drives first. And these are new. They came out not that long ago. And there are 2 flavors. You've got the X9, and you also have the X10. So the difference that I can see with these is that the X9 is rated at 1 gigabyte per second of transfers, give or take. And the 10, they say, can perform at double that rate. However, this is using USB 3.2 2x2. And a bulk of the laptops you'll encounter out there don't support that USB data rate. So a lot of the extra speed that you get with these is not always going to be there unless you've got a computer that has 2x2 on board. What's happening more so is that computer manufacturers are adopting the USB 4 standard, which has a separate 20 gigabit thing. It's so confusing. But we're going to test these 2 first, and we'll see how these perform. I'm going to load up the Crystal Disk Mark test on my laptop here, and we'll take a look at that. And yeah, that's an NSF thing, 5x5, right? 5x5. Everyone does 5x5. I didn't realize that. I did. I forgot to ask for that on my first stream, so now I do. But good evening to you. And we've got I'm going to get this wrong. Rui from Lisbon, Portugal, across the pond there. Katrina is joining us from Toronto. And Daniel the Big D, who's got a big D in his icon there, is also joining us today. Thank you for tuning in. Andrew Cruz Jr. is joining us on Amazon, who just said hello. I'm just going to tear open the box here. Why not? Now, in full disclosure, all of these are coming in free of charge through the Amazon. I'm sorry, through Amazon. These came in free of charge from Crucial, who sent these to us for review. So they look very similar. They're very small in size. And Crucial's always had 2 tiers of SSDs, and they've typically been among the more affordable choices, especially today because this one, if I'm looking on Amazon, is being sold at 46% off today. And I'm not doing a home shopping club thing. I just happened to, this was the day I was going to review these, and it just so happens is the day. So there you go. So we're going to run some benchmarks on these to see how they perform. And I'm going to start with the lower cost one. And I just have to copy the software over from my NAS device. Let me go do that real quick because I forgot to do that before I started. and we'll plug it in and see what happens here. And I am using a ThinkPad. This is a X1 Carbon, X1 Nano Gen 3, and this will be reviewed soon. Lenovo sends me a bunch of laptops on loan for me to review, and this one is next on the list. What happens is I bring them out and I use them for stuff, and then then I review them. So this one has been making a couple of appearances lately in some of the videos. It's nice. It's super lightweight. This is what it looks like here. It's super lightweight. So I'm just going to copy over my Crystal Disk Mark test, and then we'll get cooking. And bear with me here. I got to find it. Software. There it is. And Crystal Disk Mark. And we'll throw it on the desktop here. I usually do the Blackmagic speed test also, but we'll just kind of run Crystal Disk Mark because I don't have a ton of time today, so we'll figure it out. And Katrina just got the WD. I just bought the WD Security. Have you tried this one, the My Passport? Yes, I think I reviewed one of those not too long ago. They all perform, you know, they have a ballpark that they all kind of perform in. So, oops. That didn't go as planned. Let's do it that way. There we go. That was my David Letterman throw. They all perform kind of in the ballpark. I like to stick to the name brands. So my picks are Crucial, because I've been using Crucial memory for, gosh, when did I get my laptop? In 97. So 25, 26 years I've been using Crucial stuff. In fact, my first laptop was a Micron manufactured laptop, which is the parent company of Crucial. And I used to buy my RAM from Crucial for my computers back in the late 90s. So I like Crucial. I like WD. SanDisk is owned by WD now, so they're one and the same. SanDisk has always been kind of like my go-to also. And Samsung. Those are the ones I tend to stick to. I think those are the most reliable because they're name brands, and I've just had good experiences with those over the years. Recipe Bob is joining us. Good to see you. And Daniel's father's got the now discontinued Silicon Power 1 terabyte hard drive, and it's still going strong. Yes, make sure you back up those hard drives. Kyle is joining us. Hello there. And the red dot, yes, these are the TrackPoint nubs. In fact, you can buy now, I have one over here. You can actually buy this as a keyboard. Isn't that cool? But this is a pointing device, in case, for those of you unaware, for as long as I can remember, ThinkPads have had this little tracking nub that you can use as a pointing device in addition to the trackpad. That's why there's physical buttons here to control the nub. So you have a click pad, and you've got your nub there. I should do a Letterman-style top. I'm just not that funny. That's the problem. Although I could maybe hire a writer. But right now they're all on strike, so I can't do that either. But yeah, that's on the. I got to find some shtick that's going to work, right? Because YouTube's killing us on revenue these days. Okay, so let's take a look at the Crystal Disk Mark test here. I'm just going to load it up, and the drive is already mounted. This is a 2 terabyte drive. Both of these are. And we've got, let's make sure we're good to go here. So the format on this is exFAT, so it'll work with anything. So this will work on the PC or the Mac without having to reformat. But depending on your needs, you might want to reformat the drive. All right, so we're going to go select, I usually do like a 4 gig test here, and we're going to put it on D. And we're going to click all, and we'll let that run here and see how it does. This is not the end-all, be-all, but it's just how I'm going to collect my first set of data here as to what this drive is capable of. So it's funny, I started this on Amazon. I got a whole bunch of people watching initially, and then they think they saw it's like a bunch of hard drives, and they all tuned out. We had like 100 and something in there, and now we've got 16. So this is the bigger one, or the faster one. But I guarantee you we're going to see similar data rates out of this one because of this USB issue that I mentioned a minute ago. But we'll see. All right, so let me get my iPad open here so I can monitor the chat while this is running. And I might do a stream on Friday, depending on schedule, because I'm getting the new iPhone, so we could set that up together if you want. I got the big one. I haven't had the big iPhone in a while. And Renee loves TrackPoint. Me too. I like TrackPoint. My first Micron laptop, which is actually over there and still works, by the way. Speaking of Crucial, so Crucial is owned by Micron. You see where it says Micron right there? So my very first laptop was a Micron XK, or my first PC laptop was a Micron XKE 233. I did a video on it, actually, so you can check it out. And that thing still works. Like, it boots right up. I just installed a compact flash to IDE adapter in it. So it's been working pretty good. So Moopsy wants me to look at the drive temperature. It's not very hot at all right now, actually. It seems to be pretty cool. I don't have a way of getting the actual temperature off of it, but it's very cool to the touch right now. And so far, this is looking okay to me. So what you're looking at is I run the older version of Crystal Disk Mark just because this is the test that I've been running all this time. And so the first test here are the sequential reads and writes. So what it's doing right now is it wrote a bunch of data to the drive, and now it's reading it back. So it's reading at close to a gigabyte per second, which is actually very close to the speeds that they specified. The numbers underneath here are the random reads and writes, and typically these drives have not been as good at that as the SSDs in general. So what you're looking for from a performance standpoint is the sequential, depending on what your needs are, but also how those random reads and writes do. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out. But these numbers actually don't look too bad comparatively. Eric says yeah, 19 ounces. 19? Or is it like 0.09? I thought it was like a very small difference, but you're right, I don't have to work out anymore. So the new iPhone, I got the Max. So right now I've got the regular Pro one. So the new one is going to be bigger for me, but smaller than the prior Max is my understanding, but not by much. The Logitech Wheel Stand Pro, what is that? I have not seen that, so I need to look that up. I will look that up. So Recipe Bob said Amazon is stuttering. I wonder if that's why people tuned out. Should I cycle my stream there? They've been having some trouble lately over there. Kyle, yeah, I can't put that one up. It's a family show, but I get what you're saying. All right, so now we're waiting for the test to conclude here, but it's looking pretty good. And keep an eye on this because the X9, which is what we're currently testing, the X9 is supposedly the lower performing of the two. But I suspect that you're going to see pretty much the same performance out of the X10 on this computer because of the USB ports that it has on board. I'm just checking out my Amazon page here to see if we're having skipping issues. I'll put myself on screen here. Amazon has very low latency, but it looks like I'm doing okay here. I'm not skipping around at all. See, I'm watching myself. It's kind of a, what do they call it, inception? Yeah. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. Yeah, so Amazon's not skipping now, so it looks like at least it's not for me at least. All right, the test is over. So there you go. So I'm just going to record this on my screen here, and then I'll put it into my database in a little bit. So this is the Crucial X9 test, and this is the X10. And I want to do a quick swap out because my theory here is that the X10 is going to perform the same as the X9 will on this computer. That is my suspicion, but let's see if I'm correct in that. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the window here. And what I'm going to do is eject the drive properly. All right, so now we're going to swap out the X9 for the X10. I like the build quality on these. They seem really nice. Look, it's got a little light in there. I don't know if this one, I think this one has a little light in there and the other one doesn't. So that might be one of the other features. Because they really look and feel kind of the same, just different colors. All right, so we're going to run the same test now on the X10. And I'm pretty sure that this machine doesn't have the 2x2 USB support. So let's take a look here. We'll run again the same test on drive D. And let's see what we get. So Kyle says it looks good on Amazon. Excellent. You know what also is neat about Amazon is that I'm only sending them 720p, and it looks, I think, as good as YouTube does. I don't know what they're using for video processing, but... And Kyle, thank you for the follow over on Amazon, too. And here we go. So you can see the speeds here. So this drive is performing pretty much where the other one did, even though it's supposed to be twice as fast. And again, this goes down, or comes down to the interface. And the challenge here is that the X10, to get the faster speed, your host needs to support USB 3.2 2x2, 2x2, not 5x5, 2x2. And if your computer doesn't support 2x2, you get pretty much the same speed as the other one, which is what we're seeing here. So you can save yourself some money if you don't have a 2x2 and get the X9, which is going to perform very similar. So this one at the moment, the X9, for 1 terabyte is 46% off, $70. Flash memory is getting cheap. Can you believe that? Imagine getting a terabyte like 5 years ago for that price. No way. And great. That's perfect. As long as the image and sound are good, we're in good shape. What will happen around the 55-minute mark, this happens every time, is that YouTube is going to drop me and then we come back in because they've never fixed that problem, which they are aware of. They don't listen to me. So Jeremy is a Sabrent fan. In fact, I have a mini PC that I'll be working on next week. And I actually bought 2 of their super fast NVMe 4.0 drives to test out on that. So stay tuned. And Momsob joined us on Amazon. Thanks for the follow. So I do have one Wi-Fi 6E access point at home. And if you have a 6E device, it's better in the sense that I was able to hit a gigabit. I was able to hit a gigabit on my 6E when I tested it. And that's on the 6 gigahertz frequency. There's less interference there. So it's better from that standpoint. But nobody else in my house notices anything. Jeremy, let's see, Jeremy was one, okay. Yeah, he was talking about the Sabrents there. Yeah, I think we're getting to this point where you're going to see the 4 terabyte come down. Right now, that's it. It's like 1 or 2 terabytes is that kind of a predictable escalation of cost, but once you get to 4 from 2, it's like crazy expensive. But I think it's going to come down. So no, so this is the crazy thing with USB 4. And I wish I didn't throw that box away. USB 4 supports a 20 gigabit and a 40 gigabit mode. Those they derived from Thunderbolt, and those are different than 2x2. And it's optional to support 2x2 in any of the USB standards. And so far, I found that very few companies support it in their hardware. So for example, right now, I'll zoom the camera out here. This is like one of the current latest and greatest ThinkPads, which is performing quite well in all the testing that I've been doing on it so far. And this device doesn't have 2x2. In fact, I've never reviewed a laptop that has 2x2 on board. It's crazy. So there's nothing against this product. If you hooked it up to a 2x2, you'd get the speeds. But why would you do that if you can get the X9 here for much less money and pretty much the same performance? So that's what we're seeing here. Let me pull up the results from the other one. Yeah, it's almost identical. So I think the big difference between these two is the interface. And this is a nicely performing drive. I don't want to knock it, I'm not. But I've been having this beef about, and it's not just Crucial. Seagate did it. WD and SanDisk have been doing it. They release these drives with these performance claims, but nobody has the hardware to reach that. So I think this is going to get settled out when we see these companies begin to adopt USB 4, because everyone's just going to make a USB 4 drive that supports the Thunderbolt. And I'm guessing this 2x2 is kind of a way to hedge their bet. But this is almost identical to the other one, which is fine. This is a good performing drive. So TrapExit got, check this out, everybody, a 7.68 terabyte NVMe U2 drive for less than $250. But so it's kind of weird, right? You're seeing some really good prices on those. I wonder if it's just the fact that they've got to include the controller hardware on board. But I guess no. I mean, those drives would have a controller built in too. So I have no idea. It's weird. So the antenna guy, the antenna man, he's taking a bit of a break. He's fine. Everything's good. But he's trying to get caught up on some stuff. So he's in good shape. Nothing to worry about. He'll be back. He will be back. I'm curious to talk to him because I want to know if he's dealing with this invalid traffic garbage that everybody else seems to be dealing with. So here's another comment about longevity. You know what's crazy about how flash memory works? Is that these chips have electrons that get trapped inside the insulation of the silicon. So when you write to these things, you're pushing electrons through the insulator, essentially, into the circuit, and the electron stays inside. And so when it reads, it's looking for the presence of that electron inside the cell. Isn't that crazy? It's like quantum level stuff. And that's how these work. So they eventually wear out because when you're writing to them, you're forcing electrons through essentially a resistive layer. And that wears down those cells over time. But what they do when they make these drives, although you have 2 terabytes that you can use, any decent drive has spare cells where when one of those write cells goes out, they take it off the line, if you will, and put online a cell that hadn't been used before. But I'll tell you, I have not experienced many solid-state drive failures in my time. There are some issues right now with WD and SanDisk because they've got some firmware problems I think on their larger drives. But for the most part, I have not experienced any real physical issues with these disks. And of course, they're more rugged because there's no moving parts. So you can drop them, you can toss them around, within reason, and not lose data on them. So that's something that I like about it. But yeah, I think if you do with the X9 or the X10, you're going to see very similar performance here. So that is why I think this one, unless you know you have USB 2x2, I think the X9 is probably the better choice. And it's interesting because Crucial used to have kind of like a lower priced drive that didn't have the performance. This one seems to perform just as well as the more expensive one if you're on a regular USB system there. So there you go. So I'll do more with these. I'll probably be reviewing these tomorrow. That'll be on the shoot list for tomorrow. And we'll go from there. So no, so the Macs don't support 2x2. I don't think I know of any manufacturer that has something that does, to be honest with you. And seeing some discussion about, so J-Rod here is talking about the Netgear Orbi Mesh Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 7? I'm still getting 6 installed throughout my house here. $2,000? You know, it's like, it's crazy. I've seen Netgear in particular, you know, they've got like the gaming router. You don't need a gaming router. You just need a good current router to get it done. All right, so that was what I wanted to do on the Crucial drives. So I've got what I need for that, and just wanted to get those tests run and unbox them and everything. And they're nice little drives. I just want to see if this one has the light. I don't think it does. Oh, it does. It has a light too. Okay, they're pretty much the same thing. So it's a matter of interface differences. That's it. But they perform great, both of them. But if I was buying one, unless you, again, if you know you've got 2x2, get the black one here, the X10. This is the X10 Pro and this is the X9 Pro. The difference, USB 3.1 Gen 1, Gen 2, USB 3.2 Gen 2x2. And if you don't have 2x2, you're SOL, or find some number that works there. Do the Framework laptops support 2x2? I don't think so. I've got the Framework Chromebook over there. I don't think they do because I'm pretty sure they adopted the Thunderbolt spec. And like I said, I have not found, if anyone knows of a laptop that supports it, let me know, and I will investigate and look into that. All right, next up here. This one is going to be interesting. This will consume you and me. And I'm taking risks here on your behalf because this is like, this thing works with some crazy Chinese VPN. It's like a whole crazy thing. So we're gonna see what this thing's all about. So what you're looking at here, they've been bugging me to get this reviewed, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But today we're getting around to it. This is a personal cloud storage device, and this is called the Orico Personal Cloud Storage. And we'll take a look at that. Commodore Fan says, the whole USB, yes, I am in total agreement with you on that. It is total bonkers. And the worst part is you don't have any idea in any of this stuff, like what the cable supports. Because you can have a USB-C cable, and they're not all equal. They're all different. It's crazy. Bear with me here. I just got to log Jake into my Steam account real quick. So Jake is working on some computers for upcoming reviews. And I'm working on this stuff. Give me 1 second here. I just got to communicate with Jake. All right. Let me just get my YouTube control panel opened up here. I forgot to bring my little MacBook down. So I'm going to look at it on here. Ugh. All right, bear with me. 1 second here. Let me just pull up my, I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody's support of the channel. Okay, so we're going to unbox this while I'm looking. And keep the volume down here. All right. Okay, so now we are going to unbox this little guy here. So the $150 Thunderbolt cable, does it do anything special that the others don't? No. The one thing about Thunderbolt cables is that they support everything. So what's nice about Thunderbolt is that if you buy a Thunderbolt cable, that cable will do display alt mode, so you can get your video routed through it. You could do all the high-speed data, like it just works with everything. So there's a little less uncertainty there. But the Apple $150 cable is no different than a Thunderbolt cable you could find for less money. I think it's longer, and longer Thunderbolt cables are expensive. But I just reviewed one that wasn't yet officially certified that I think would probably work pretty well. Here's another one from Jonathan. Have I ever reviewed products that were the same product with a different brand name? Yeah, so I've seen, I think a good example of that would be Pluggables stuff. Not all their stuff, but some of their stuff. So for example, they have a Thunderbolt hub that is very similar to one that Kensington makes, and they perform exactly the same. And Kensington and Pluggable are both good companies. So I would say if you see Pluggable offering something that looks a lot like some other generic item, I'd buy the Pluggable one because they have better support that comes with it. So that would be my preference there. All right. Yeah, so Stan, if you go on the video that I just did, the Amazon, I did the Amazon gadget haul. It's like it's my second most recent video. In there, I've got a cable just as long that's like $60 that claims to be Thunderbolt 4 certified. It doesn't appear on the list of certified cables yet, but I tested it with a Thunderbolt hard drive and it seemed to work. In fact, I think I have it somewhere on the floor over here. I haven't cleaned up in like 2 weeks, and I've got just like piles of everything that you can imagine. But that cable should be around here somewhere. And here it is, the Starlinker. So this is just as long as that cable, but it's only like $50 versus whatever they're charging. It's actually pretty well constructed. Again, it doesn't, I did ask the Thunderbolt people, is it certified? They said it probably will be, but sometimes the manufacturers jump the gun before it's official. But this is a nice long one. I think it's the same length, I think is what they're talking about. So it's a nice long cable. This one came in from the Amazon Vine program. And Avery's Video Journal wants to know, did I pay for these drives? No, these were sent to me. I said this at the outset. These were provided free of charge from Crucial for review, and we'll have a review coming up later this week. All right, so let's take a look at this thing. And this came in free of charge from Orico. Now, what this thing is a portable NAS device, network attached storage. And what you do is you put a 2.5-inch SATA drive in here, and then it will turn it into a network drive. And it comes with an Ethernet cable, which I'm not going to need because I've got one handy here. This is not PoE powered. It would be killer if it was, because that would be a great example of I think just would make sense to have this thing being PoE. No SanDisk drives today. We're just looking at Crucial, and then we're gonna try out this crazy device. I'm always a little nervous, like with these less than known brands, especially when the instructions are all in Chinese. Oh, here's the English side. Okay. So we got to install our drive first, and then we've got to download an app, it looks like. All right, so what do I have to do here? Install the drive. So it looks like, all right. I'm not sure I want to plug this thing into my network, to be quite honest with you. I mean, Orico's pretty legit, right? I mean, I've reviewed some of their other stuff before. And I've got the power cable here. This is like a multi-region power supply. So we'll slip that in there. Yeah, this is the problem, right? Like, YouTube never notifies anybody of anything anymore. The worst part is that from because of all these algorithmic changes they've made, only I would say in most of the time, only about a third of the subscribers actually see what I have uploaded, which is pretty crazy. All right, so I'm going to slide this in here. And it's got like a lock on it. So I guess you can lock the drive in if you want. Oh, I see. It's got like a, kind of just holds it in place. Or it actually looks like it pushes it in. All right, this kind of keeps it, I had the overhead. Kind of keeps it locked in there. All right, so now we're going to put it back together here. I'm going to plug some power and Ethernet into it and see what it works. So I would say, J-Rod, unless you've got a 2x2 equipped computer, the X9 Pro is going to work just the same way. Oh, great. They just my phone just updated. Now I've got like different voicemail on it all of a sudden. Hang on, I was just getting a message here. Okay. Give me 1 second. I got to make a custom greeting on my phone here. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me get this thing plugged in here. And let's see what happens. I got to find my Ethernet cable. Oh, it's plugged into a computer. All right. It's plugged into the last project that I started and finished, but never cleaned up after myself. So this is my life. I just go from one thing to the next, and it just piles up on the floor. All right, so we're going to plug in the Ethernet here, and we're going to power this thing up and see what happens. Okay. Yeah, so I think there's something definitely going on right now, and I speculated on this with, I don't know if you saw my video from Monday, but what I think is happening is that they are having a really hard time coming up with enough inventory. And what's happening is that they're trying to find ways to squeeze more inventory out of the viewership that they have. So what have they done recently? So one of the big things they did was they changed how creators can control whether or not ads appear on their channels, right? So you can turn ads off or turn them back on, but you can't limit the pre-rolls and the mid-rolls and all that kind of stuff, right? They changed that whole interface. They are getting very aggressive with ad blockers, right? The other thing that they did is that they apparently were trying to detect when an adult was watching a made-for-kids video, and they would serve them advertisements for adults that were not part of this COPPA thing that they had to deal with on the FTC. So I think what's happening is that YouTube got caught. Advertisers are unhappy that made-for-kids videos are getting ads placed on them. They demanded refunds, and it became this fruit of the poisonous tree. So if you had a viewer who got an ad on a kid video, clicked on it, and then started getting tracked, now anything else that that person watches, even if it's not a kid video, is part of that poison branch, if you will. And so I think they're clawing back all the ad revenue generated from viewers that were served ads on kid videos. That's what I think is going on here. And that's probably why YouTube's not talking to anybody, because it's the Federal Trade Commission. They already had a settlement offer with them where they agreed to do all these things to stop tracking kids. And now it looks like if a kid was using a parent's iPad, they could get tracked again. And the advertisers are upset about it. And because of all this stuff that's going on, I think they just don't want to talk. So that's why nobody's getting any information about it. What concerns me the most is that this would presumably impact big channels and small channels, but the small channels seem to be the only ones getting their advertising revenue clawed back. So that's what bothers me about the whole thing. All right. So I plugged it in, I installed the hard disk, and I have to find the app. They don't tell me what the app is. Maybe there's an app I have to get at the beginning here. Scan the code. Oh, hang on a second, there's more to this here. Okay. Am I starting at the beginning? So illustration. Oh, I have to download the app first. Okay, so I've got to, and that's the part that's in Chinese. What's in the box? Thanks for choosing Arico. Here's the specifications. Yeah, so, oh, okay, oh, it's over at the end here. So I've got to scan over here. Hang on a second. So let me scan the QR code for iOS. Do I really want to use this on my iPhone? I don't know. I mean, I would suppose, yeah, so this is a Chinese company. WeLine.io. All right, let's open this up here. Confirm. Ooh, so check this out. Let's record some B-roll of this. Hang on, let me pull up my screen here. I'm getting kind of nervous about this, to be honest with you. Hang on, let me just, I just got to set up my recording hard drive here for this screenshot I want to take. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so check it out. They want to set up a VPN on my phone. That makes me a little nervous, everybody. I don't know how you all feel about that. But you know what, Stan Sprinkle? I think I'm with you on this one. I just got my first message on it, and I kind of like it. Because I was sending my messages to Google Voice. But now I just got my first voicemail on Apple, and I think I kind of like it too. So I haven't used visual voicemail in like forever. Although suddenly I've got messages like from the last year and a half on here. What the heck is this? So if I click on this, what do I get? Can I actually read the message? Oh, yeah. Okay, oh, cool. So it does give me like a transcription. Huh. Okay, enough distractions. Let's get to work here. Okay, so I'm going to click. I suppose I could always take this VPN configuration away afterward. My understanding is that this thing like connects to its own VPN, and then it kind of works that way. So I got to sign up for this. I just hope that they don't have some way to like just take all this stuff off. I'm gonna take this thing off the network after I'm done testing it. I do this for you, by the way. That's who I do this for. Here, give me a second. I got to type more stuff in to set up this account on here. All right, so let's do this real quick. Yeah, it is on an isolated thing, but I don't know if that's going to matter based on how this is working. All right, I got to set up a password. Bear with me here for one more second, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm at least going to give it a secure password. And I'm uninstalling all this crap when I'm done here because I'm like, oops. Hang on 1 second. Why did I agree to review this thing? I didn't think this was going to become what it is, to be honest with you. And honestly, I'm wondering if I should just not even bother with this because, I mean, am I going to recommend somebody install this thing and like connect to some Chinese, I'm having cold feet on this. Let me ask you all this question. Let's do a vote. Do I have a way to do a vote in here? Let's see. Yeah, you know something? Yeah, we're not doing this. I just can't. I was thinking about this. I'm like, some crazy VPN in China? No. It lost me there. I didn't realize that this is what it required when I first agreed to review it. So let me get this off my phone now. Because I can't recommend somebody install this thing. And now I got some like crazy VPN on my phone. Oh, it's off. Okay. Okay, so when I took the app off, it took the VPN with it. So it's gone. But yeah, looks like that's the consensus here is don't do it. Yeah, so my understanding of how this works is that you install your 2.5-inch SATA drive inside of it. You plug it into your network. This thing connects to this VPN service. And then you can copy the photos from your phone over to the drive wherever you are in the world. And on the surface, it sounds like it sounds like a halfway decent way to get around poking holes in your router to access this thing remotely. I kind of like that concept of going through a VPN end-to-end encrypted, but who's the VPN provider? It's like WeLine.io. I have no idea who this is. So, and this is one of those things that I think about as a product reviewer, which is, we get this product in, it looks like a neat idea, but it's some Chinese VPN located in a country that doesn't afford the same rights to its citizens as my country does here in the United States. So what are you sending over there? And although it might be end-to-end encrypted, who's got the private security keys, right? Who can peek in at all this data going back and forth? And although the drive is located where you are, it's traversing through this Chinese VPN first to get to it. So yeah, what kind of backdoors are there? So yeah, there's no way I'm going to be recommending this to people. And it could be that. It could be perfectly innocent too, right? But who knows? That's it. So, I mean, if this thing worked like a Synology NAS, I'd have no problem with it. But that's not how it works. You got to install an app, you got to connect to the VPN, and then it kind of does its thing. This will be one of those devices. Remember when I used to do the didn't make the cut videos? That's it. Yeah, so I think what and I like the idea here. So the biggest problem, and I've been reviewing NAS devices forever, one of the biggest challenges with network attached storage is how do you get to it when you're outside of the home? So different companies solve it in different ways. So for example, when we look at QNAP, so QNAP would open a port on your router with a UPnP connection, and that would work. However, if there's vulnerabilities, as QNAP has experienced with their stuff over the years, that opens the door for people to basically log into your house, poke right through your firewall, and start infecting your network. Now, what they decided to do on this one, which again is not a bad idea, but who owns the VPN, is that they connect this thing to a VPN so you don't have to do any UPnP. You're not opening up any ports on your router. It will communicate through that VPN server, and then you might get routed directly into it, but your network is still traversing it. So that's kind of where you run into problems. Now, what Synology has done is they do like a NAT traversal thing where your NAS will communicate with their server, and they will be able to negotiate a direct connection without the need for a VPN network in between. So that's one way they do it. What I do with my Synology, I set up a Tailscale network, and it's a VPN service. You got to trust them, right? But what's nice about Tailscale is that I'm able to get at all of my devices and only my devices anywhere in the world. It works great. It's secure, it's encrypted, it's simple. I like simple. And I found that to be a really nice solution. And what's nice about Synology is that you can choose what VPN solution you want to do. You could run your own VPN and not use anybody's, right? So that's great. What they did here, though, was they said, okay, we're going to use a VPN from this Chinese company, and you're going to connect to that, and your phone's going to have to be connected to it all the time. And who knows what other traffic is getting routed. Yick! So yeah, we're not doing this. Nice try. Good idea, poor execution. That's my take on that. So there you go. So we were going to spend more time today on the stream, but I think I just was getting nervous. And you know what? It's all your fault, all of you. You're like, because normally, I'm pretty reckless with this stuff. Within reason, I do isolate my network, but I'm willing to try things, but you all talk me out of it. And look at this, like how could I keep going with comments like this? Like, no way, you guys are scaring the crap out of me. But no, actually, I read up on this. It is this is not DDNS. It is actually a VPN. It installed a VPN client, and it changed my VPN settings on my phone. So yeah, hard nope. And I think they probably require the VPN on the LAN just for simplification, so that they don't have to have two different routing models, right? You can just have it connect the right way. So David Langley says it was the right decision. And I agree with you. Yeah, an open source piece of software is going to be a lot more reliable or a lot more secure than that. So yeah. So yeah, it'll, if anybody wants this, I'll send you one, or it. Let me know. Maybe actually, if any of you work in InfoSec, maybe I'll send one to one of you. You can do an analysis of it. That might be kind of fun. And then if you deem it safe, then I'll review it. That's how you get the drive out, by the way. So that's it. Yeah, neat idea. I'm not comfortable recommending people use some unknown VPN service. So that is that. Yeah, I'll check my phone. The good thing with the iPhone is that once you get the app out, it should be okay. But I will double check and make sure my network has not been infested with anything on my phone. And my phone's going away on Friday anyhow, so trading it in. Upgrading primarily because my battery is not going to make it. So there you go. All right, well, I was expecting to stream until at least 4:30 or so, but I'm out of things to talk about. However, what we did look at for a recap is we tested the Crucial X10 and the X9 Pro drives. They look very similar. They're obviously different colors. But the X9 here, which by the way is on sale for 46% off on Amazon if you click the link. This drive has a USB 3.2 Gen 2 connector, so it does about 1 gigabyte per second, just under, of data transfer. Very nicely performing drive. This one, if you have the hardware, will do double that. However, I don't own anything with a 2x2. And look, I'm the guy that gets laptops from just about every major manufacturer in here to review. I have yet to see one that supports 2x2. So if you are certain you have a 2x2 compatible USB port, get this one. This will be twice as fast. But for the most part, everyone is likely just dealing with a regular 3.2 Gen 2 port, and therefore this drive will provide the same level of performance. And in my test, it's almost exactly identical. So there you go. Yeah. So what I found is that, and I've been doing this now for the last couple of years, and much to my wife's chagrin. So what I used to do is I used to buy a new phone, and then I gave my old phone to my wife. And she was cool with that because I was always like on the latest version, so she was only a year behind. And then they started offering me, trade-in deals through Apple, and this time I went through Verizon. So Apple's trade-in offer was like $500 or so. But Verizon, I think I'm getting like $800 for this phone on trade. So I'm like, yeah, I think that's what are they offering me? Hang on, let me me look at my email and see what they sent me. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone what they're offering me. Hey, Cyberpunk's on sale again. I just got an email from Steam about that. Let's see, Verizon. Let's see what they're offering me here. I'm just looking on my thing. Let's see. That's my sister. My sister bought a phone also. We're all on the same family plan. Okay, so what was their trade offer? Oh, what are they doing? They're going to prorate it across my... I got to call them. I have to call them. So I'm just looking on this email they sent me. It looks like they wanted this prorated against my service plan. I got to call these. I can't stand dealing with Verizon, to be honest with you. You know what happens with them? Unless that's just how they calculated it. Yeah, so they offered $830, but it says $23.06 a month for 36 months. But I'd rather just get the money than have it count against my phone bill. I got to call them. That's not what I expected. Yeah, I'll give them a call before I send this phone in. What a pain in the butt. Yeah, you're going to credit my bill for the next 8 years. Like, thanks. Yeah, they prorated it. That's what it's got. It says $23.06 for the next 36 months. That's insane. I don't want that. I bought the new phone. I paid full price for the phone. And with Apple, what happens is you trade the phone in, and then they just credit your credit card for the amount of the trade. That's crazy. Is that really how it works? Because my wife, when she got her phone, they deducted the price of the phone when I got it for her. And her phone was like broken and they gave her full price for it. But yeah, like that's the same thing because Apple was so Apple was $570, Verizon was $830. So that's and by the way, Apple, I couldn't get my phone from Apple. So that was it. Yeah, I think it is the radiation. But as I've discovered in my amateur radio experience, it won't cause cancer. It heats up your biology. So that's the concern. That really our RF exposure is really about the heating effect, it's not the same as like X-ray radiation or other types of radiation like ionizing radiation. And one of the things that I had to do, it's now a requirement for amateur radio stations, is you need to do a site survey to make sure that you don't have people too close to your antennas. And you got to calculate it based on the type of antenna, the power that you're transmitting at, and you have to look at it for every frequency that you transmit on. And for a lot of amateurs now, we're using these digital modes that have what they call a high duty cycle. So for example, one of the more popular modes is something called FT8. And you're transmitting for 15 seconds at a time, pretty much at full power. So when I'm talking to somebody, I transmit at 100 watts, but it's not just 100 watts all the time. It's based on your voice, and that's how it gets modulated. But in the digital modes like FT8, you're pretty much at a full duty cycle, and I transmit at 25 watts, but still it's a longer exposure because the duty cycle is longer. So that's kind of the gist with it. So RF radiation is a problem, and there are health risks related to it, but it's not the same as ionizing radiation. So it's more likely to, you don't want parts of your interior getting heated up. Let's put it that way. It's not good. And who knows if that contributes to something else, but, and it's a silent kind of thing. You don't really know it's there. And it varies based on that. So for example, like my antenna, I'm perfectly fine where I'm situated with it at the power levels that I'm at, but people that do like 1500 watts or more, like you got to be careful about how far away from the antenna people are when you're transmitting. Like I said, it's not going to kill anybody, but it's going to heat up their insides. You don't want to heat up people's insides. I've been told that. You know, it's how a microwave oven works. It's the same thing. All right, well, I got to go call Verizon now. So let me take care of that, because I'm getting my phone on Friday with a box. They're both showing up at the same time. And yeah, I think that was probably how it came about, right, is it heats up. And microwaves, by the way, they operate at the same frequency as Wi-Fi. I think they're 2.4 gigahertz. That's a lot of power. So a microwave oven, for example, you're pumping 1,100, 1,200 watts of power into a very small enclosure. So that's why it heats up the way it does. So I am, my call sign is KC1RGS, Kilo Charlie 1 Romeo Golf Sierra. I am a general, not a general military general, I am a general ham operator. So I have my general license, which is the middle license here in the United States. I got that a couple weeks ago. So I can transmit on all of the bands. I can't do voice on the whole swath of the amateur spectrum. I have to get my extra license for that. But the things that I do, I'm perfectly happy with my general license. So it's been pretty good. All right, well, I'm going to go run here and call Verizon and have it out with them. And I will catch you all on the next stream. Have a good one. Bye-bye.